Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? My name is Francisco Cantu, and I am back. Usually, when I say I am back, I say it on Mondays because that is when we typically have our live streams. We have our live stream Mondays on Facebook and YouTube. However, this week we had some technical difficulties earlier in the week, so we moved it to today. Hopefully, you got the email. Hopefully, it's being recommended to you. Whatever the case may be, I am just glad that I am back here to share this hour with you all today. As a matter of fact, before I started the live stream, I was watching Joe Biden's speech on loan forgiveness. He's right now live doing a speech on loan forgiveness programs for Americans and how that's going to be implemented in the near future. So I had to put pause on that so that I could tune in and spend this time with you all. So as I get ready to be started, I would love for you to hit those comments. Let me know, as always, where you're watching from. Tell me the state that you're watching from, whether you're a parent, whether you're a student yourself, and that way we can start getting that dialogue started. Also, as always, we have David or Laura in the chat answering those questions. So just make sure that if you have any question along the way, go ahead and use that chat box so that you can comment those questions, and then David or Laura, whoever's monitoring the chat, they are going to be answering. I see the first comment in the chat from David and Laura. Let me see. I see it right here. There it is. Best College Aid account. It says, welcome everyone. Please let us know where you are watching us from in the chat. So again, throughout the presentation, if you have any question, feel free to use the chat to ask it. And at the end of the presentation, as always, I will go back, scroll back to the beginning of the chat and answer those questions as they come along. But also, David and Laura will be monitoring those questions in case you want a speedier answer. So that is that about logistics, housekeeping regarding the chat. However, before that, I also wanted to give you a sneak little preview of what the live stream today is going to be about, and that is back to school tips for seniors, right? So if you are the parent of a student who's starting their senior year, or you yourself are a senior, this is where you need to be. This is the right presentation for you. Now, that's not to say that if you are the parent of a junior or a sophomore or a freshman, or you yourself are a student starting any of those first 3 years of high school, that doesn't mean that this presentation is not for you. You can still learn a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing throughout this presentation, and it'll give you an overview of what you should expect during the coming years. But the tips that I will be sharing with you today will be aimed at those seniors. Why? Because as I always say during the month of August, anything and everything that can be done regarding the college admissions process has already happened. So it's super important that you grind it out during the following months, right? So that you can get those applications and get your list of colleges done. Make sure you apply for everything and anything that you can qualify for regarding financial aid and scholarships, because in the coming months, everything that you can do is still open and available. So it is super important, and the reason why this live stream is for seniors is so that if you are watching this thinking that it's too late, you can hopefully learn a thing or two about things that you can do right now and realize that it's not, in fact, too late, and that you can still make your student dreams or your own dreams of going to college a reality if you implement the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So that is that on what we will be talking about. Remember, back to school tips for seniors. However, before we get started, it is 3:06 right now, so I will get started in a couple of minutes. I just want to wait for a few more people to join in the chat. Just wanted to remind you, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and use the chat feature. But also, if you just want to get started telling us where you're watching from, whether you're a parent or a student, go ahead and do that in the chat. And before I get started, I do want to thank the sponsor of these live streams, which is the Best College Aid program. Best College Aid is our premium program where we teach families of high school students who want to go to college how to navigate the process every step of the way, from as early as middle school all the way to life in college. We cover that inside Best College Aid. It is distributed between online advising, our online course. We have benefits like subscriptions for SAT or ACT study materials. We have free discounts for crash course books, other standardized testing books that you will want to get access to, exclusive discounts with technology companies like Dell, all that stuff on top of unlimited support via chat, email, or online platform. All of that is included inside Best College Aid, and that is the reason I am able to tune in every week to do this presentation for free and spend this time with you all. So just wanted to thank Best College Aid program for sponsoring these live streams. If you are interested at any point throughout the conversation or throughout the presentation or afterwards, if you are interested in learning more, feel free to check out the link in the description of this video. It is also in the bio of all of our social media platforms, but check that out so that you can watch our free training for the 6 steps to go to the 6 strategies to help your children get accepted to college with scholarships. Again, that's only if you're interested. Right now, we're having the biggest sale of the year for the back to school season. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why we're having the sale back to school, because we want to give people that extra push that they may need if they were thinking about joining Best College Aid, but they didn't know if this was the right time, by having this special limited time sale that ends on the 30th of August. We are incentivizing people to take that leap of faith because it is much more valuable to you and much more. We can do much more for you right now if you register before August 30th, because everything is still available and can still be submitted, and we can guide you better. So that's the logistics as to why we're running the sale right now, so that if you needed that leap of faith or that extra little push, you could do that sooner rather than later, because it sets us up to help you better, because those deadlines will start closing up in the coming months. So August 30th is when that biggest sale of the year for back to school ends. So go ahead to check out the link in bio if at any point throughout this presentation or throughout after the presentation you want to learn more. However, if you're only here for this live stream, that's perfectly fine. I will still go on with the presentation as advertised. This is completely free. Again, thank you, Best College Aid program, for allowing me to come here every week and have these free presentations, this 1 hour long presentations that I always do, and answer questions at the end. Again, the topic is back to school tips. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, back to school tips for seniors. And the reason why we're doing this right now, these few months, it is because, according to the statistics that I'm showing you right now on the screen, as of August 2nd, only 2% of the U.S. population, U.S. schools, districts, and students go back to school. By August 9th, it's 14%. By August 16th, it is over 45%. And then right now, in the month that we are, in the day that we're at, which is August, today's the 24th. So by now, over half of the U.S. population, around 60% of the U.S. population, has already gone back to school. And the way and the reason why our special Best College Aid season is ending on August 30th is because by then, most students will already be back in school. So if you want to make this more interactive and you want to go ahead and make use of that chat box, you feel free to go ahead and comment down below when your children go back to school, or if you're a child or if you're a student yourself, you can tell me when you went back to school or when you are going back to school. Again, not only does this help me make the live stream more interactive, but it also helps me know who the audience and who's watching this, so I can sort of streamline my tips and the information in such a way that is of most use for the people who are watching this right now. Cool. So anyways, I just wanted to start the presentation with those little bit of statistics regarding back to school dates. But now let's move on to the first real part of the presentation, which is an overview of senior year. So what does senior year look like with regards to the college admissions process? What is the checklist of things that need to be done, or the goals for senior year? Well, certainly you want to make sure that you apply to college. And throughout the rest of this presentation, we're going to elaborate on each one of these points. However, I just wanted to make a big general overview of what senior year will look like so that you know the must-dos for you or your student before your student goes ahead and gets full steam rolling with the year. And I see in the chat that we have Harini, and Harini is saying September 6th, high school senior. Awesome, Harini. So that means that this presentation will be of a lot of use to you and your students. So yeah, so to take Harini as an example, senior year, Harini's student will apply to college. And what we want to make sure that gets done is also everything regarding standardized tests. And there's an asterisk there because later in the presentation, I'm going to talk about the conditions or the reasons or why the must-knows for standardized testing and taking them on senior year, when you should take them, why you should take them, what the best strategy for taking them is. But I just want to, again, mention it as part of the overview of what senior year looks like. You will also want to make sure that you and your student fill out and submit financial aid forms and scholarship forms. Why? Because these also have submission deadlines. And one of the worst things that you could do is, number one, not know about them and not apply. Or number two, if you do know about them, just miss out on the deadline or apply too late. Because a lot of the forms that I'm going to talk about later in the presentation, whether they are forms for federal aid, state aid, private aid, institutional aid, for the most part, they are given out or they award money on a first come, first served basis. So I'm going to talk about important deadlines when I get to the point number 3 about scholarships, because once those applications open up, you will want to make sure that you submit everything as soon as possible after they open up so that you are eligible for the most amount of money. And then the final thing that I'm going to talk about in this presentation will be how your student, once they have that acceptance letter in hand and they have that decision made regarding where they're going to go to college, they will want to maximize that financial aid package. They will want to negotiate. They will want to be able to cut costs wherever they can and make sure that what they're paying for is the most comprehensive list of things that they could possibly get charged for when attending college. So that's an overview of what the rest of the presentation is going to look like. So go ahead and ask any questions throughout it. I invite you to use the chat like Harini did, or I invite you to wait till the end when I do the Q&A session. But that's just the overview of the presentation. So let's go ahead and get started with the first part. So, applying to college. This is probably the most broad of the points that I'm going to be covering today, but it is also the one that's filled with the most useful information. Because when people think, oh, okay, my students got to apply to college, there's no science behind that. Whatever, they just have to submit an application before a deadline and that's it. When in reality, we teach our students inside Best College Aid of the optimal strategy, the best way to apply to college. And the best way to apply to college always starts with a list, because that list, what will allow you to do is divide schools between reach, target, and safety schools. And that way, if you have, let's say, a list of 8 to 11 schools, and let's say 3 of them are safety schools, your student statistics are above that of an average applicant at that school. Let's say that 4 more are target schools for which your student's statistics are right on par or right on track with the average student at that university. So they have a good shot at being accepted. And then the rest of the universities in the list are what's called reach schools. So more rigorous, harder to get in, a little bit of a more ambitious choice. Maybe their statistics are at or just below that of the average applicant of that school. Having that breakdown and that list of schools is beneficial, amongst other things, because it will allow your student to leverage risk, right? So they'll still have, let's say, 3 schools or 4 schools that are their reach schools that are like super ambitious choices, very highly selective, and they'll apply to those 4. And let's say they get rejected from 3 of them and get accepted to 1 of them, or they could even get rejected to all 4 of them. But because their list is not just made up of those reach schools, they will have leverage and they will have that safety of those target schools and those safety schools. So the beauty of having this list in the first place is that it leverages risk, so that best case scenario, you get to a super selective school and you know your dreams come true, your student goes to that great school, and worst case scenario, they don't get into those schools, but they have those safety options that make it less risky to only apply to those highly selective schools. So creating a list is super important in that regard. Creating a list is also super important because once a student has that list in hand, they are able to see the deadlines. And this is super important because every school has a different deadline. Every school has a different date in which their application is or must be due by. And they have different types of application. In other live streams, we've gone ahead and talked about early action versus early decision. If you're interested in learning more about that, go ahead and check out the other live streams posted on our YouTube channel, or you can check out the free presentation in the link in bio. But for the purpose of this overview of senior year and the checklist, having that list of colleges will not only, as I already said, help you leverage risk, but it will also give your student a guide of, okay, there are these 10 schools that I'm applying to. These 5 of them offer early applications. 5 of them is regular decision. I can see those early applications are October 15th, November 2nd, November 15th, and I don't know, November 30th, to say whatever. Having that list will make it so that your student can reverse engineer those dates backwards and know exactly when they should start each application, when they should submit everything. So it will give them a little bit of a guide and structure to their senior year. That's why we always say to our Best College 8 members, start with a list and then everything will fall into place. All right, so once that list is done, you will want to start filling out those college applications. Again, they could either be submitted through the specific university portal. They could use something called the Common Application Portal. There are others like the Coalition application. So it is up to you and the student to figure out what portal each university uses to make sure that you fill out those applications the right way. And again, based on that list, you send out those aforementioned applications. So the last 2 points, filling out and sending those college applications, were very easy to breeze through because you started with creating that college list. And with that college list, you were able to see the statistics, categorize them into rich, target, and safety schools. And then you have those deadlines that will dictate when you fill it out and when you send said application, okay? So super, super important. Start with that list of colleges, rank them, fill out those applications, check the requirements, make sure that you submit everything that, for the most part, we recommend that anything that is supplementary, that is optional, gets filled out. When I say send out your college applications, I mean every little component of a college application, not just the transcripts or not just the application, but the recommendation letters as well. Make sure that standardized tests, which I will talk about in the next slide a little bit more. All those things have to be combined and have to be submitted at the same time, right? So super, super important. That's why we always start with creating that college list. Okay, so before I move on, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and check out the chat. Go ahead and comment in the chat if you have any questions as I navigate any of these. I see Jenna Dean saying, thank you, Francisco. These videos are amazing. It is my pleasure. That's why we do them every week. Don't thank me. Thank the Best College 8 program, because that is what allows me to be here every week and then share this hour with you all. So do not worry. It is my absolute pleasure. The next one is also from Jenna Dean saying, what's easier, taking dual enrollment or AP classes? Well, Jenna Dean, I will go ahead, since this is a more specific question. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to come back to it and answer those questions that are not related to the material of the presentation. Angie, hello, my son already has his list of universities, but his first options are private with a low acceptance standard. What is the possibility that these universities are accessible? That is a phenomenal question, Angie. So with these universities, right, what you will want to look at with regards to admission statistics and all that good stuff before applying, every school has information on the acceptance rate for, let me go ahead and pull up your question. So every school has different information on their acceptance rates for the different types of applications, right? So some schools will have, let's say, a 15% acceptance rate for students who apply early action, and then a 7% acceptance rate for students who apply under early decision. So what I recommend is that you look at all of the universities in your students list and that you go one by one, seeing the different types of applications that they offer, whether they are early action, early decision, regular decision, rolling admissions, whatever it is, and check out if you can see any differences or discrepancies between those acceptance rates. And then based on that, you will know what makes the more sense regarding what type of application to submit. And also you can check out the admission statistics for that school to see if your students should hold off on applying early or if they should go ahead and wait or apply right away if they already have the necessary statistics. So that's where I would start. We go way more in depth about this inside Best College Aid. So if you're interested in learning more about that, right now would be the best time to go ahead and check out the link in bio, because we're running the biggest sale of the year for the back to school. And in that free presentation, without even having to worry about joining Best College Aid or not, in the free presentation that you will see in the link in bio, we also go into this in more depth. So I would go ahead and set everything that I already recommended, but also supplemented with checking out the free presentation in the link in bio. Great question. So keep them coming. Jenna, I'll get back to your question at the end. All right. So the next piece of advice, or the next point that I wanted to cover in today's presentation, it is taking standardized tests, right? So as I promised, I was going to get back to standardized testing, and the standardized tests are usually the ACT or SAT. And I also will talk about schools that are test optional. So the reason why take standardized tests has an asterisk on it is because not every senior will have to take a standardized test, right? This point is conditional on whether or not your student already has the necessary scores, or whether or not they took the test already during junior year, right? So if you're a junior or your student is a junior who already took the SAT or ACT and they're super satisfied with their score, then this does not apply to you. But in a lot of cases, students who already took the SAT didn't perform as well as they would have liked, or they just didn't take it at all. So the reason why I wanted to make sure to include standardized tests into this presentation is because this is something that your student will have to check the universities in their list. Going back to the last slide, they all will have different statistics regarding the average standardized test scores of their incoming class, right? So you want to make sure that your students' scores are competitive compared to those students who already attend that university. So that is what will determine whether or not you should take this test again, or whether or not you should hold off on taking it and you are ready to apply early, right? So those standardized tests should be a supplement to your application. They should enhance your application, especially if you are applying or submitting them for test optional schools. What we tell our members, and what you will learn if you go ahead and check out the link in bio and you join Best College Aid, is that schools that are test optional, it is for the most part a good idea to include standardized test scores if and only if they are at or above the average or the 15th percentile of the current students, right? Because you want to make sure that you add something, or that you increase the statistics of the school. If your standardized test scores are not good enough and the school is test optional, you'll want to go ahead and leave those out. But again, I just wanted to make sure that I briefly mentioned or touched on standardized tests, because they are super, super important for schools and they can very much enhance your overall application. Cool. All right. So moving on with the next piece of advice, very, very important. Go ahead and submit those financial aid and scholarship forms. So as promised at the beginning of the presentation, I'm going to talk about important deadlines. So When you are thinking about paying for college, and I know I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that when I was getting ready for this live stream, I was in the middle of watching the Joe Biden speech where he's talking about their implementation of this new policy for student debt forgiveness. So it's good that I'm talking about this right now, because you will want to make sure that you take on as little, if any, debt at all when you attend college. And the first step to go ahead and do that and qualify yourself for as much eligibility for financial aid and scholarships is to go ahead and take advantage of all four types of financial aid and scholarships, which are given out at the federal level, the state level, the institutional level, and the private level, right? And with that being said, there is one day that is super important that you should have in mind. If you're a parent or a student, you should have the October 1st deadline very fresh in your mind, because that is the day that the FAFSA and the CSS profile, which are, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it is for awards that are given out at the federal level, whereas the CSS profile is for institutional aid, right? So for money that is given out at the level of the school, right? So each university gives out that financial aid based on what they assess from the information provided on the CSS profile. And both of these applications open up on the 1st of October, right? So that is why we have those points there, October 1st and FAFSA and CSS profile, because you will want to make sure that as soon as they open up on October 1st, you are ready to submit those applications. And the reason for that is that the money awarded through those applications is given out on a first come, first served basis. So the earlier that you fill it out, the bigger the pool of money that you are eligible to receive. So you want to make sure that you do that early on. There's no harm in getting it out of the way early, and they should be filled out every year before your student will be going to college. So starting senior year of high school all the way to junior year of college. All right. Again, we go more in depth in this inside the free presentation with the link in bio. So go ahead and check that out if you want to learn more about these. But for the purpose of this presentation, October 1st, super important. FAFSA CSS profile, also super important. Make sure that these deadlines, as well as any other deadlines regarding private scholarship or aids, or any other sort of, if you're applying for state scholarships, whether that would be the Cal Grant in California, or Bright Futures in Florida, or I believe in New York is called the TAP, something like that. Whatever it may be, check out those deadlines. Right now we're in August, so a lot of them are opening up, and the deadlines are still available and accessible. So you want to make sure that you put in a lot of work towards scholarships and financial aid right now, so that when the time comes to pay that bill for college, you do not say, or you cannot say, that you left money on the table, but that you took advantage of anything that you were eligible to receive. Because a lot of people self-disqualify. A lot of people say, oh, I shouldn't fill out the FAFSA or the CSS profile because my family makes too much money, or because I'm not going to receive anything. And what they don't realize is that this approach is assuming that all money given out by the FAFSA is need-based, when in reality, there's a lot of merit-based scholarships that have their prerequisite of having completed the FAFSA. So by not completing it, you might be keeping yourself, or if you are a parent, your student might be disqualifying themselves from becoming eligible for merit-based scholarships, because they wrongly assumed that it was only based on need, right? And even then, there are other factors that get calculated when these forms get the number of something called the estimated family contribution, which is the EFC number, is what they use to calculate how much aid you should receive, or need-based aid. So factors such as how many siblings you have in college, or like debt, all that stuff, all these different factors get calculated for the EFC, and that is what ultimately determines need. So don't disqualify. The bottom line and the summary of this is, don't disqualify for scholarships and financial aid. Go ahead and take advantage of those, right? October 1st, fill out the FAFSA and CSS profile. And as far as other types of applications or other types of aid, go ahead and capitalize off private, institutional, state, and federal, private, institutional, and state aid. Those four. All right. So that's it for financial aid forms and scholarships. I'm about to go ahead and do the last slide of the presentation. But before I do that, I do want to remind you that if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and use that chat feature to ask them. And the Best College Aid account will either respond to them right away, or I will go back at the end of this presentation, scroll back on the chat, and answer them after this next slide, right? So I just wanted to remind you all of that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and share the last piece of advice, which is maximizing the financial aid packages. So we talk about it extensively in our free training that we have in the link in bio. But what I mean by this, by maximizing the financial aid package, is that there are a lot of costs once you get your financial aid or your award letter that says pretty much on this side you have everything that you have to pay for: tuition, housing, meal plan. And on this side you have all of the financial aid, scholarships, everything that will help you cover the expenses, right? So what we mean by saying maximizing a financial aid package, well, there are two ways that you can pay less for college. You can either increase what you receive for scholarships, financial aid, and whatnot, or you could decrease the cost of the things that you will be paying for. So in the previous slide, we talked about ways that you can increase the eligibility for money or scholarships, right? But on this slide, and as you will see once you register for the free presentation, you will see that there are ways that you can decrease the other side, what you will be paying for. And that can be done in the shape of, things such as the meal plan. What type of meal plan are you getting? Are you getting the unlimited plan, or are you getting a certain number of meals for that plan that you have to pay for? They're usually significantly differently priced. What type of housing will the student take advantage of? Are they going to be living on campus that has a certain sticker price, or will they be living off campus, which at some institutions is cheaper? There are also things such as the cost of insurance. Like some schools have mandatory insurance, and what many students don't do is waive the cost of insurance. So they're insured through their family, their lifelong, insurance, but also through the school, which can add a few extra $1,000 every semester. So being aware of these different little tips and tricks can be a way to save a couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000s there, and all of a sudden you're paying tens of thousands of less dollars for the 4 years of college. So we talk about this extensively, or we elaborate more in that free presentation, the link in bio, and certainly inside Best College Aid. But I didn't feel like it was right to conclude this presentation on tips for seniors without having mentioned that, and without having mentioned the possibility of negotiating financial aid packages once you have that acceptance letter in hand. So hopefully that helps you prepare for what your students should get ready to do senior year. If you have more questions about it, remember we cover that extensively. We cover all of this that I just talked about in more detail with more audio-visual resources, because right now I'm streaming on Facebook and YouTube, so I'm kind of limited on what I'm able to share, what I'm able to show you. But in that free presentation, we go ahead and elaborate on everything that I talked to in more depth with more audio-visual resources. Again, we prepare that presentation with lots of hard work, and hopefully it serves you and your family. Again, that presentation, that free masterclass, is the 6 strategies to help your children get accepted to college with scholarships. So go ahead and check it out if you enjoyed what I shared with you today. Again, this is the Best College Aid program that sponsors these live streams, and it is what enables me to come here every week and have this be the highlight of my week to be here with you all, getting to see your questions and getting to share these bits of information with you. So I do want to thank again our sponsor, the Best College Aid program. And I do want to invite you again, if you have not already done so, go ahead and register for that free training. At the end of the training, we do have an offer where we invite you to join Best College Aid if you are interested, if you like our content, if you want to learn more about it, if you want to learn about the ways that you can send your children to college with scholarships. My siblings and I, when we came to the US, we didn't really know anything about the college admissions process. Fast forward 12 years later, the four of us graduated. I went to school in the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. My sister Laura and my brother David went to school in New York. My oldest brother Vidal went to school in Miami. And between the four of us, we received over $500,000 in financial aid and scholarships to attend and graduate from college. So we put all that into the Best College Aid program, which is a mixture of online support, unlimited chat, mail, and Facebook support. We also have a online course that breaks down in trainings and in lessons everything that you need to know about every step of the way. Downloadable files. We have calendars that say this month you should be doing this month you should be doing that, you should be taking these classes, you should be doing this with extracurriculars. So all of that is covered inside Best College Aid. Additional to that, we have partnerships with publishing companies, the publishers of Crash Course books, which is Rhea. We have a deal with them, so we are able to get our students exclusive discounts to that material. We also allow them, or we also have gotten discounts for technology such as Dell computers and all that good stuff. So the membership is a lifelong membership. If you join right now and take advantage of this biggest offer of the year, the back to school sale, then you will have access for life. And any present and future content that we have will be available to you because you will be grandfathered into all the benefits that we talk about in the future. So as I mentioned earlier, before I hopped into this live stream, Joe Biden was doing that speech on the program that they're rolling out for debt forgiveness. And I was just thinking, okay, this will be something that we will teach our members how to qualify for that, how to know if they're eligible, how to go ahead and fill out all that information. And that's just the way that we think of updating our content. Every month we update it, and all of our members, doesn't matter if they joined us 3 years ago or last week, they get access to all present and future content and any other benefits. I know that I mentioned Rhea, those exclusive discounts. We also have partnerships with Kaplan, which is a test prep resource for SAT or ACT. That's what our partnership with them focuses on. So all of those benefits that we currently have, but that we'll also get in the future, will be available to you if you take advantage of this biggest sale of the year, the back to school sale. So again, I just wanted to invite you all, in case you enjoyed what I shared with you today, or in case you are left wondering, okay, well, I want to learn more, I want to do more, I want to be involved more. That's just an option that I wanted to extend to you. Again, our whole purpose, and this is what me and my siblings do. This Best College Aid, developing content to help families like us who didn't know how to navigate the process, is what we wake up to and do every day. We do these live streams, we write out these scripts, do these lives, all of that because we want to help as many people get accepted to college and help as many families as we can. So that's the little backstory to Best College Aid, the little backstory as to what's included inside the program, and the reason why we are doing this sale until August 30th is because everything that you can do can be done within the next few weeks, and the college admissions process really picks up in August. So we want to incentivize people taking action right now if they're on the fence, because if they join right now, they will be able to get the most benefits because they will be taking advantage of those deadlines that are still open, but that will close after, starting October, November, December. So we want to incentivize people joining now so that they can get the most benefit later on. So that is why the offer is ending August 30th, so that we can incentivize, again, get people that urgency to join. Because it really, right now, if you're watching this and you care about mastering the road to college or the admissions process, well, this is the wake-up call to say, whether it's through Best College Aid or whatever other means, this is just me being transparent. A lot of hard work within the next few weeks will very much be worth it for your families in 4 years when they graduate college, right? So if you grind out during the next few weeks, you will be set up very nicely for the following years of college. So that was it. That's the last thing I'm going to say about the Best College Aid program. Feel free to click that link in bio if anything that I just said resonated with you. And if not, I am back here every week. Again, we understand that not everyone is interested or not everyone wants to join the Best College Aid program, even with the exclusive sale that's ending on August 30th. So because I am aware of that and because I'm aware that not everyone wants to join, I still want to be accessible to the general public. And that is why we do these live streams every week. And that is why I've been inviting you all to ask questions on the chat so that I can go ahead and answer them. And with that being said, let me go back. There was one question that I didn't get to answer that I promised Jenna Dean that I would go ahead and share. So here it is. Jenna Dean asked earlier in the presentation, what is easier, taking dual enrollment or AP classes? So this might be a very underwhelming answer, but I'm going to say that based on our experiences, based on my own experience and that of our students, it very much depends on the teachers in your school and the programs in your school. Some schools very much and very well fund their AP classes, and they have very well equipped materials to go ahead and get those students to learn that content and pass those AP exams, whereas dual enrollment, it pretty much depends on what entity or what institution you are taking those dual enrollment classes at. So what I would recommend there, number one, is to work backwards, know what your goals are, know what schools you want to apply. That's why throughout the presentation, I talked a lot about making that college list, because if you have that college list early on and you know where you want to apply, it is very easy to get in touch with admissions officers at those universities and ask them about, oh, hey, I'm taking these dual enrollment classes, or I'm thinking about taking those. Would you accept those credits? Oh, yes. Boom. Then it might be good to go ahead and take that dual enrollment. But if they do not, and your school has a very good AP program, which is very, very generally and universally accepted across colleges in the United States, then you might be better off going ahead and taking those AP classes. So again, might be a little bit underwhelming, but that's the truth of the matter. It depends on the conditions, where you want to apply, and whether or not they're going to accept those credits, what the resources at your school are for AP classes, and not just AP, but I mean IB classes as well, or any other program that your school offers. It's all about how well funded are the resources that they have. So it very much is a case-by-case situation. But I invite you to reach out to those schools in your list, their admissions officers, and see what their policies are regarding dual enrollment to make that decision for you. Cool. And I am scrolling in the chat. Best College Aid commented, feel free to write your questions here in the chat on YouTube, and they also commented that on Facebook. But other than that, that seems to be all of the questions that got shared here today. Once again, I feel absolutely blessed to be able to come to you every week through your screens and to have this hour. I know that usually we do them on Mondays, so I appreciate everyone who tuned in today. Really appreciated your questions, really appreciated your feedback, appreciated the interaction. We are back here on Monday. We are back here on Facebook and YouTube in English on Mondays at 3 p.m. If you are interested in following us on our social media, that's our channel all across the board, Best College Aid USA in YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in seeing. Laura is the social media mastermind for our social media platform. So she is usually the one who appears there. I make some cameos. I'm not very good at that developing content whole business. Laura is a G at it. I am still trying to learn the ropes, but yeah, you will see my face there. You will see Laura's face there. You will see David's face there. So go ahead and check us out in those social media channels. Again, if you're interested in anything and everything that I said here today, go ahead and check us out in the live training that we have prepared for you. This exclusive end of the year back to school sale will end August 30th. So go ahead and take advantage of it right now if you're interested at all. And if not, who cares? It's a free training. Doesn't cost anything to check it out, learn a few things. So go ahead and click that link in bio if you're interested at all. They have a saying in Mexico that someone who says goodbye a lot doesn't really want to leave, and that is why I keep saying goodbye, but then I keep on ranting about. But I will be back next week, so I appreciate you welcoming me into your homes. Have a blessed rest of your week, y'all. Bye-bye.